Thank you. To welcome you to tonight's DWI Zoom call. And we're just absolutely delighted to have everybody along. A huge welcome to new members and members that have been with us for over a year. So people have recently joined us following our very successful conference. Tonight we're going to hear from Killowen farm business owner Nicholas Dunn, who's with me here on the call. But just before I come to Nicholas, who we'll be hearing from this evening, I'd just like to make a few comments about our recent and very successful conference. So we've had fabulous feedback from the conference, with participants telling us that they appreciated the fabulous morning sessions with Aidan and the panel discussion, our accountant Barry Murphy, and the entertaining and informative Fab Pharmacist. And it was a real opportunity for people to network, to meet with other women in a beautiful venue. You appreciated the choice of afternoon workshop sessions, and that the event was so informative, honest and real conversations and insight, and a great atmosphere of energy and humour. So I thank you all for your attendance at that event. We've received a few clear messages of direction also for next year. Our aim is to bring the conference a little more centrally located for the farming regions rather than quite as close to Dublin, and to feature more women who are dairy farming in their own right. And we will be endeavouring to provide even more technical topics into the future. And we're very aware that there's still many women across the region that we haven't connected with. And so we'd ask you as members to look out for other ladies who wouldn't perhaps feel as comfortable as coming to something like the conference, or haven't thought that this organisation would be for them. Please do reach out. We'd be delighted to expand this very important network. So with those introductions, etc. done, it's my pleasure to hand over to Nicholas Dunn and to welcome him to DWI Call. And Nicholas, it was my addiction, and you might have to pay for my addiction. It's very big. It was my addiction for your raspberry yogurt, which I declare is the nicest yogurt in the world. Any mouthful of that I take, it explodes with energy and nutrition, and it's just fantastic. So thank you for joining us this evening, Nicholas. I'll hand over to yourself if you might like to share your presentation, and then there'll be plenty of opportunity for questions. And I've just asked people to either, when I call for questions, either raise your hand or send them through to me on the chat. So welcome, Nicholas.
Thanks, Anir, and I'm absolutely thrilled to bits to be here this evening to speak to women dairy in Ireland. Look, it's a great privilege for me anytime I get up and speak, and particularly to yourselves. I think it's a fabulous organisation you have going, and I do wish you the very best with it. It's something that's badly needed in the country, I think. So Killowen, I suppose, to start off, I'll just, you can see my yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So I suppose it's about sort of say who we are really. So we're very passionate, food loving family, I suppose. We've been farming for the last 9 generations here in Cornacuddy. We're very much a family-run business, award-winning. Started the yogurt probably in 2004, but I can actually go through that in a further slide. Today we probably milk about 300 cows on the farm is what we currently do, and look, that's the challenge in itself in the new derogation rules that have come in. It makes us quite difficult because we try to source all our own milk to a certain extent. I suppose, look, we produce it's mainly yogurt is what we've done, but in the last two years we've actually got into cream cheese, and I'll go through that in the presentation. I suppose the key piece of it here, our milk really travels less than 15 meters. Both the milking parlour and our milk intake actually join. So we're actually moving milk meters rather than miles. And look, one of our core principles here is that we use very much local ingredients, and we would use like Wexford blackcurrants. There's only probably 2 commercial blackcurrant producers left in the country. And both of them actually happen to be in Wexford at the moment. So then we actually use Wexford rhubarb, Wexford strawberries and raspberries, which are very difficult to actually get anymore. There was a time actually there was no restriction on strawberries and raspberries. The vast majority of Irish fruit now is actually eaten fruit. So very little of it ends up being frozen and ending up. So it's a real challenge to get it. I suppose just to talk about maybe the history of where the family has come from and where when I started out myself as a young farmer, and I suppose I go back to 1991 and just previous to that I had just gone to college in Killowen, spent a year in Australia, 6 weeks in New Zealand,
Very good.
Dublin, working for a guy called John Bulger, who was brother to your previous Prime Minister.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's what I done in 1990. So in 1991, I came home and look, I was at that time there was the early retirement scheme, and Dad had decided to go on to it. He was heading for 60 years of age and decided to get out. So at 22 years of age, I took over the family farm, which consisted more or less of roughly about 80 cows at the time. It was both dairy and beef, and I wasn't a lover of beef, and decided that we would exit our beef enterprise. Part of actually our family business was my mum was involved in catering. She actually catered. She had a canteen in the local mart, and she'd done different functions or whatever. And that would have given us a good food background within the family itself. I'm one of 9. I've 6 sisters and 2 brothers, so we were dominated by girls in our house, which was improved our confidence drastically, I think. But look, I suppose in 1991 we started off. And at that stage, we started to lease a lot of land, and we leased a lot of milk, and we built it up to somewhere around 200 cows within a few years. And in the recent years, actually, in the last 2 or 3 years, we've built that to 300. But we were saying we're very challenged with that 300. We are very close to the 250, and sometimes this year we exceeded it and had to take land and export a bit of slurry, and that's not where we need to be. Because we pride ourselves in the whole sustainability piece and so forth. But look, rules change, and we'll have to adapt, and we just have to work out how we're going to deal with that going forward. It's a real issue. I suppose our next opportunity that came along for ourselves here was that I got an opportunity to join Wexford Creamery onto the board. And that was up till then I wouldn't have had a good business background, in the sense of I'd done ag college, and ag college can be, from a business point of view, it's great for agriculture, but for business it's not. And farming definitely is a business, and so actually joining the Wexford Creamery board, I was lucky enough to get onto a corporate direction program with UCC. And they give us a great education in a different line of thinking, and how to think different and so forth. And that led on to we had a couple of trips to the States. We were in Europe, we were in the UK, and that all happened through Wexford Creamery. And then the best bit at the end probably came when I became the secretary of Wexford Creamery, and we got the opportunity of Wexford Creamery was owned 80% by Dairy Crest, 20% by Wexford Creamery, and we got the opportunity to buy out that controlling share for Wexford Creamery, which we done. We actually then went through probably 3 restructuring programs, and the day I left the board, we actually sold the creamery to Glanbia, which is now Tirlawn. And I suppose, look, that was in one sense we probably succeeded in probably the future of the creamery, and on the other side of actually being the co-op shareholders of Wexford Creamery, we probably failed in the sense that we just weren't big enough to make it viable. But at the end of the day, we found a way of doing it through Tirlawn, and which is now Tirlawn. But look, it was a great experience, and I got a phenomenal experience. I can never sort of say any potential person looking to join a co-op board in the country, I would say grab it with both hands, because it's probably one of the best educations you can have in life. So I'm off that I think I left that around 2011, 2012 after a very, very tough time. But anyway, we got through it. But look, fabulous experience. I suppose in 2003, as part when I was on the board, we actually I got an opportunity. Killowen yogurt was owned originally by a company called Side Dairies, which was a liquid milk facility owned by about 9 farmers, and they got bought out by Avonmore. And then the farm that the actual plant was on was owned by a guy called Paul Kinsella, and he was a lecturer he was actually doing a lot of around food and food safety, and he was a lecturer in Carlow IT. And he actually decided to start making yogurt, and he actually done desserts, and he done it for about 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. And he decided one day just to give it up and to get out. And I actually just heard, I was lucky enough, my sister Pauline at the time was working in Pettit supermarkets, and she just said to me, Killowen Yogurt has decided to cease trading. And I picked up the phone that evening, and I phoned him, and I went down and I met him. And probably 6 months later, we actually started to produce yogurt down in Killowen, which is just outside the Ferrycarrig Hotel in Wexford. And I suppose our initial piece in that was we took it on we rented the premises. We're incredibly lucky in 2003. HACCP was only really starting, so we didn't have to have a huge background in quality. It probably had established itself in Wexford as a brand. It was supplying supermarkets such as Pettit's. It was doing a small bit into Dunnes Stores, and then in all the hotels, we're very lucky in Wexford. We have a number of very good hotels, and Killowen was selling in there. So I suppose it was a matter of just going back and contacting them, and straight away they took the product in, because the product actually had a very good reputation. And look, the first couple of years was very difficult. I think in the first year, I think we lost about 100,000 in it, and that was a wake up moment in the sense of I actually did have 2 other farming families that got involved with us in the first year, and at the end of the year, we probably had there was a loss of 100,000 on the books. And I suppose there had to be a dividing of the ways or whatever, in the sense of we had to think different. And I suppose I had sort of said, listen, I'm going to take it on because the guys wanted out. And that's how it came into our single ownership. Well, the first year would have been difficulty. We would have had different ideas of how it was going to go. But look, I had a good feeling about it, that it was actually, there's something really in it. And that's probably what kept me in the game. Very difficult, because I was now trying to finance this with a lot of farm debt. But I was lucky enough, I had a current account with a bit of an overdraft on it for the business, and I was able to maintain that for the first year. And that actually kept us going. As long as I kept within my overdraft, it was fine. The biggest, I think the first biggest lesson to me was the difference between running the farm and running the business. The biggest thing here is actually how they operate. With the farm, look, if you're in a bit of bother, a bit of merchant credit doesn't go astray, and you can build your merchant credit and so forth. That does not happen in a food business. You pay at the end of 30 days. You pay probably in some cases when we're starting off an account with someone, our suppliers would have been looking for money up front, so we paid for the product before it was delivered. But just the principle around finance and so forth was way more tighter. We were tied into anything that we really done. We had to sign for it and had to pledge that we're able to pay for it and so forth. So very different. And even in today's terms, that still applies, in the sense of there's a lot of flexibility around farm and farm credit. There's nothing around food and food businesses as regards credit. You either need to have loans in place, but there's no such thing as any type of merchant credit or any type of credit from suppliers. It's just not. They just don't tolerate it. So that was very different. That was a good bit different to get used to, particularly coming from a background of borrowed money and merchant credit to go into that. So I suppose, look, we took off between 2003 and 2008. We were very dependent, sort of say, on the likes of, we got, like, obviously our local supermarkets in Pettit's at the time were not within the Super Value group at the time. They were independent. So there were 5 stores, which I can tell you exactly, it was about 7,500 a month, I think is what we used to get. And that's 7,500 that'll keep me going every month. It was the one check that we could depend on because our grade they paid at 30 days. So you always need a customer like that to carry everything else. Obviously the hotels in around Wexford, we got in there and money started to come in. And then as we got a bit of a foothold on stores, we used to send people into those stores looking for our product. No one wasn't in there, so they'd actually phone us up and look for that supply. And that's what you have to do. You have to go in and sort of send people in. My mum told me here, she used to phone people on a weekly basis. So listen, your mind going into those stores and asking, can you get Killowen? And she looked fair enough. After a while, the manager started to want, listen, you have to come in and give us a bit of product or whatever. And that's how we initially started the whole piece. It's putting your neck out there and asking people to do bits and pieces for you. So look, that happened the same. Tesco's a little bit harder. They weren't as forthcoming on letting us in, but did over a period of time, and there was a bit of sustained pressure. And the more we grew and a bit of publicity we were able to get around, we're always good about getting our names in the paper or whatever, and that sort of drove that piece in. And then we got incredibly lucky with Palace Foods and in food service. And the first time we ever moved a pallet out of the premises was on a Palace Food, one of our first Palace Foods orders, and they decided that they would use us for 5-litre buckets of natural yogurt. And our first order was 100 buckets, which was almost a pallet of yogurt, and that was the first pallet we ever sold. And look, it was that was I suppose that was a bigger moment than sometimes hitting some other of our milestones. Was actually getting it, because it took so long. I think we were 2 or 3 years before we got that first pallet, actually full pallet going out on the truck. And that was a big milestone for us, and I still remember it. I remember taking it out of a van and putting it in the back of the truck and sending it off. So look, it's amazing what you can remember over the times. So that was really, from 2003 to 2008, that's what we were doing. During that period, my sister Pauline actually came back and started. She was working in Pettit supermarkets. She actually came back and started to work with us on the farm here as well, and within the business. And we, at the time, Super Quinn was probably the premium supermarket in the country at the time. And they had a guy called Bruce Langsland who came from the UK, who was he was ex M&S Food, and he was a product developer, and he built sort of say premium private label brands. And they approached us to do what was called the SQ, which was superior quality, was the name of the brand. So it was SQ, and we done it in a glass jar for them. And I suppose we were very lucky in the sense of Bruce actually taught us, after drawing up, I'd say about 200-300 samples to Dublin on a weekly basis, and he kept throwing back to us, no, not good enough, not good enough, you need to do this, you need to do that. And he taught us a bit about perfection and about taste, that what he wanted was the very best that you could possibly get. And until we produced that for him, we weren't going to get this in. So look, at the start of 2008, we actually did get that product in after about 6 months of traipsing up and down to Dublin and getting it through. Difficult enough to get it through, even from an auditing point of view of Super Quinn coming down and auditing our plant and making the few changes which we would have had to make, because at that stage we wouldn't have had a quality person on site. It was all more or less done by ourselves and what we learned ourselves and so forth, and a few courses we would have done with the local enterprise boards and so forth. So look, as part of this going through, and how we financed some of this was actually through Leader and through our local LEO office, and we would have had Board B also involved in this period, as we would have to mold. But it was important for us actually to have every person that we could think of that could actually give us a hand in the first couple of years. And every organisation out there, we would have phoned them and we would have asked for help, and we'd have got help in I would say probably 99% of the time we'd have got that help. That where we're being reasonable about what we were looking for, and we're able to co-finance some of it, which was part and parcel of it. But look, it was very important that we actually went and used every organisation out there, and they're all great organisations. You just need to know how to manage it, how to perform for them, we always overperform, under promise, overperform. I think has always been our way with them, and that builds a great amount of trust, because at the end of the day, you're using state money, and state money can't go astray, or can't be seen to go astray. So that's how we got on with that. So look, the proof of the pudding probably on the SQ range was we went to the Great Taste Award in the UK, and we won the first Irish 3-star Great Taste Award for yogurt ever. So it actually shows the quality of the product we had and the taste of the product. So it was won for an SQ yogurt and blackberry yogurt, or blackcurrant yogurt was won by. And look, the judges came back and said it was one of the best yogurts. We're unfortunate probably not to win it outright in the year, but that was just I suppose after all our hard work, that's what we got to. I suppose then look, in 2009, we were just after going through the downturn, and Aldi had been on to us, and we actually had to convince them to take the product. In the end, they came to us and look, it was like, when the discounter came back to you, if everyone brings themselves back to 2008 and 2009, and you're from a farming background and you're contacted by a discounter, there was a lot of things I promised myself I'd never do, but in times of desperation you'll do anything. And we got involved with Aldi, and look, it's been a phenomenal story since then, really, in the sense of we produce all the glass jar yogurt for Aldi Ireland, and we produced some large pots from it as well. We actually went on then in 2014, and we actually supplied Aldi UK, and we built that to at one stage we're probably hitting about €4 million of business a year with them, is what we built that business to over sort of say an 18-month period. And then we had Brexit, and we had probably had a bit of a disaster. We went to the UK, and we went into their head office, and we're driving down into their head office. We met all their trucks coming out, and they're all wrapped around the Union Jacks. We went into the head office, and it was at a time it was the Olympics was just over, and every medal winner in the Olympics was around their walls, and I just knew that we were in a bit of trouble. And we actually lost that because they wanted British milk at the time, so we lost that full contract. So it was a big wake-up call for us. We were after expanding at a rate of knots. We were probably lucky that we probably started to do a lot of private labels for Dunn's and Tesco at the time, and we're probably lucky enough that we actually we had enough actually to sustain ourselves. But look, it was probably a difficult time in the sense of you're not really too sure where you're going to go after you losing. You know, it was Aldi at that stage was 70% of our business. So out of that 70% of it, probably 60% of it departed overnight, while I suppose it was over a 6-week period or whatever to give us to get out. But look, great lesson, and every now and again you need a good kick it in the backside, just to sort of say, be careful in what you're doing and how you de-risk your business and so forth, and never become over-reliant on someone when you don't really understand what can happen. And I suppose we thought they'd never leave us because we were so good. We'll leave you well, in the sense of if things go against you within the market or whatever, or if market sentiment changes, of course they'll leave you and they'll run to the next place where they can get their kudos or whatever. And look, you can't blame them for that's the way the market works. So look, that pushed us out, and we decided that we actually look into Europe. And I suppose I suppose being on since for the last 4 or 5 years at this stage, we have been talking to Kerrygold and about doing cream cheese for Kerrygold. Germany, and we've been doing that for the last 2 years. And look, as the presentation goes through, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but like that's probably 50% of our business today. Just to give you just a rough idea of where we are from just to show you a bit of say the management structure that we've currently put into the business, and sort of say, look, I sit on top of it as the managing director and the owner of the business. We have John Ahern as a firm manager, Michael as a financial controller, Joe Cash as our operations manager, who controls everything more or less at this stage as regards where the factory is. Pauline, my sister, in sales and marketing, and we've Warren, of course, commercial manager, and then we've Zora McNally as our quality manager. So that just gives you an idea of the business. Is about a €16 million business today, and that's the sort of structure. We've a lot under that actually of how it runs, which just to give you an idea of actually that there is a management structure into it. And I suppose just from a marketing point of view, I just put up this slide, and it just shows what we are. It's one farm, one herd, one family, and one unforgettable taste. And that's what it's all about, you know. That's our marketing piece. It holds us in reasonably good stead. We wouldn't be as good as the others out there, in the sense of they're much farther down the road than what we are of some of our competitors in it. But this is something we rolled out over the last 2-3 years, and it's holding us in reasonably good stead. We We are probably the only farm that actually does produce all its own milk for its own brand. At this stage, I think all the rest are actually buying in milk for their brands. We actually don't. It's slightly different for cream cheese, but that's more or less our marketing story. And I suppose, look, how we work is look, sustainability is very much a part of what we do. We're in the middle of the countryside, and look, it's very important to us about the whole sustainability piece. We strive to actually work with Irish suppliers, because look, at the end of the day, that's what makes us very different. And I suppose, look, if you're to ask, like, I suppose we would always say we're the kings of taste, and the reasons we're kings of taste on this, it isn't all about using what's around us in the sense of using our milk is probably within 12 hours of being produced, we probably have it processed into milk, and it is about freshness. And no matter what people say about milk, the fresher you process it, the better the taste, and that's what's held us in good stead. We're very lucky in the sense of all our water actually comes off the farm through our own wells, so we're not actually bringing it in, and that also actually helps, because once you start bringing in water from different schemes, there's so many different things in it can affect our taste also. Look, we are very much, sort of say, from pollinating flowers and bees and so forth, to the part of the farm that's actually dedicated to that, and then we've just to get more and more into it. And members of Love Irish Food, I suppose the one that we're really proud of, we're gold members of Origin Green, and that sort of is the whole board be a piece of to be a gold member there, you have to be excelling in sustainability and our green credentials. So it's something we're probably getting better at. We've a long way to go. We're currently putting panels on solar panels on our roofs here, which will probably help us stay gold members next year. And here's a very difficult job actually, to remain gold members of Origin Green. You have to be ahead of the curve all the time. But look, we're getting there. What's very important to us is Great Taste Awards. We've 13 Great Taste Awards won this year, 2 Blossom Heron and a Bronze Cheese Award. That's what keeps us out there, and it's very important actually that we win these awards from year to year, because it actually keeps our name out there, it keeps people talking about us, and that's very important. And look, the fact that we are very proud producers of private label, and look, I can talk about private label and our relationship with our private label customers later on. I suppose who we work with, they're all there. I suppose, look, our biggest piece is Dunnes Stores, is one of our biggest customers. Aldi, Tesco, Super Value. In the last 2 or 3 years, we actually started with Tesco Finest, which is it took us a long number of years to get up to the quality of a Tesco Finest standard. It's just under an MLS standard. Very difficult one to get there. We've got there. Took us about 14 years to do it, and they've been working with us for about 14 years to actually get us there, and eventually we got there. We work with Cisco, which is Palace Foods, all our food service. Food service is a large part of it. About 20% of our business actually in food service. So every hotel in the country, we try to get into them. Atlantic Fine Foods, it's a company that we actually supply. We supply Emirates Airlines in Dubai, first class, and we supply a lot of 5- and 6-star hotels, and we supply the only 7-star hotel in the world, which is in Dubai also. And again, it's not for the volume of product we sell to them. It's actually for I may say it. I may just put it out there that we're actually suppliers to these places, and that when I'm going in to speak to a buyer in anywhere, I roll that out, and look, it opens doors for us. We also do a good bit of contract manufacturing, and that's through a company called Fit Foods at the moment. We have a number of companies coming to us asking us to do different, because we process and plant. Like a lot of companies come and ask us to do different things. Some we have a go at, and it doesn't really work out. Very few of them actually do work out with people coming to us, and not because it's just too many margins to come out of it, and the ideas have to be sort of very groundbreaking. But we do keep talking to people, and we do actually have one that's coming through at the moment, and we'll see how that one goes. I suppose just talk about Kerrygold for a second. I probably wake up every morning, and most of them, myself and my wife, probably wake up in the morning and we pinch ourselves. And we pinch ourselves for the reason that we supply the best brand Irish brand, food brand in the world, and that's Kerrygold. And just to give you an idea of actually, sometimes I know, well, I was always aware of actually how strong the Kerrygold brand is. Well, I didn't know to the extent of, so in Germany, Kerrygold sell more 250 gram butter packs than Coca-Cola sell Coke cans. They have a recognizability in Germany of 99.9%. So there's not too many German people you would come across, they're very scarce, that do not know what the Kerrygold brand stands for. And that's across, like, Germany is our main brand. If you go into the UK, it's the fastest growing Irish brand in the States as well. They're having phenomenal success. So look, it's something that every dairy farmer in Ireland needs to hold dear to their heart, in the sense of it's something that we can be incredibly proud of. And we're delighted to be a producer and be privileged enough to be a producer of Kerrygold, because it took us a long number of years, took us 4 years to actually get the contract over the line and then build a facility for it. And we're going to ship about 1,200 tons of cheese to Germany this year. So we're absolutely thrilled to bits that we're actually part of it, and being privileged enough to probably nail a contract like this, because they're quite hard tax masters. But look, we're incredibly proud for it. So so that gets me through the air, sort of say our presentation on what Killowen is about.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. That's just fantastic. Now, is that a photo of yourself, and is that your sister?
Yeah, that's Pauline, and my son Charlie.
Lovely, lovely. And you've got your wife and yourself have 2 children, is that correct?
Yeah, it's myself, my wife, and we've 2 girls and Charlie. Yeah,
Lovely,
so
lovely. 2 girls and a boy. Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I might just get you to stop screen share so that we can have you up, as I personally have 2 pages of questions. And so I'm going to, as the MC here, take the privilege of taking the first 3 or 4 questions to you myself, Nicholas, but I'd welcome questions via chat. So people can send in questions. If you look down the bottom of your screen there, you'll see the chat button, and you can address them to me or just to everybody there. And also our DWI host, Deirdre, from Galway, is looking out for them as well. So please, questions come. We've got 40 minutes or so of questions. So Nicholas, can I get you to come back to when you in 2003, when you bought into the yogurt business? You'd been farming, you were up to about 200 cows there, your wife and yourself, 200 cows in the business. What made you think, I'm going to buy a yogurt factory? You knew about the business stopping, but why were you positioned looking for that?
Yeah, I think I was always in this, Linair, looking for something different. And I think we struggled with the amount of work that was involved in the dairy herd. And we sort of said, like, we're releasing a lot of land, and we're releasing a lot of quota. And life was tough. Margin wise was incredibly tough. And we started to go to the UK, and we used to attend a few shows over in the UK and just having a look around. Like, we thought, first of all, we might get into frozen yogurt. It seemed to be the trend at the time. Then we looked at different cheeses, and we're always looking for something, but never really fitted. And I suppose Killowen came along, and I sort of said, this is it. It's a good fit. It's sort of established in the market. It's not that difficult. Probably when I looked into it, wasn't that difficult actually to make it, as I thought at the time. And I probably went head first into it, as you do with most things. But it was, I just knew it was the right thing. That when you come across something, you sort of say, actually, this is a good fit. And the first time we actually had a good fit, that probably what myself and my wife could get into it, in the sense of I did the production side of it, and she done the van deliveries or whatever, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you mentioned that you were working hard with the 200 cows and wanted a little bit of a change from that, strong routine. It sort of strikes me that you might be working harder now with, a large business. So how do you weigh up the, hard work of the farming aspect and then the change into, this bigger business management?
Yeah, look, it's probably a very difficult one, Linair, in the sense of, and that's why I would have sort of said we went head first into this. If we stood back and thought and really thought about it, we probably would never got involved in it. But managing two businesses is very difficult. One will suffer. And I would say in recent years, probably our farm suffered a little bit. Very difficult. And the biggest thing is actually people, getting the right people. And I suppose it's only in the last probably 6-7 months I actually got someone that actually I can work that. I've had farm managers over the years or whatever managing the farm, and they all brought different good aspects to it that I thought would work. And then the problem is there's some parts that they're not able to do, and you get a little bit paralyzed in the sense of, well, I can't say I can't do without them, because if I have to go change and find someone else, well, I'm going to have to cover that work while they're gone, and that governed us for a good bit of time. That the fear of actually losing a farm manager or losing someone on the farm would put more pressure on me, in the sense of the more farming I had to do, the more distraction there was from what was becoming the main business. If we look at where it currently sits today, the factory is probably 20 times turnover of the farm. So that that's over the years, the more that grew into, the more I couldn't take the risk of upsetting, so to say, anyone on the farm. I was always sort of walking on eggshells, but eventually I actually got someone actually that's well capable of managing it and thinks something very similar to myself. And now I know I can work with someone like the person that we have at the moment, who's 22 years in their last job. So he's not going to go anywhere in a hurry. And I suppose that if I was doing all this over again, I would actually search an awful lot harder and been an awful lot more ruthless on the farm side of it, in the sense of I would have just dealt with it, moved on, got someone else in, and eventually I would have came across the right person and changed the criteria. But look, farm managers are very, very difficult to get, very hard to get the right people. But it did put an awful lot of pressure on us. Look, we would be, it's not unknown for us to be working 7 days a week, getting up in the morning, milking, going and running the plant, going back and milking in the evening, or feeding late at night, or we calve cows. So look, it's not, if you're to sort of say, well, what's the difficulty in what we've done? It's probably the family. If you're to be honest about it, look, the family did suffer a little bit, in the sense of those matches I didn't get to, functions I didn't get to, weekends we didn't get away. So look, I think they're happy enough at the stage that we've actually achieved what we've achieved, and they now can enjoy what we've probably achieved over the last number of years with the business. But yeah, look, it was hard, and look back, if you look back on it, you do things slightly different, and maybe that's a lesson that we probably need. Would have learned from it, is when I take on something now, is I actually look back a little bit and sort of think a little bit harder about it, and actually work out scenarios out a little bit more. I find myself doing that.
My very next question really was how you alluded to the big difference between running a farm and running the business. You mentioned that in regard to finance. You've also brought in some other lessons there about getting good people around you.
Yeah.
Just a question that's come in from Rasheen is, in that transition from farm owner to the business operator, you've got a big team of people. What are some of the other lessons you've learned? You've mentioned about that in the farm business. How do you work? You've now got 100 people in your team, I believe. How are some of well, there's two questions here. What are some of the lessons that you would apply now that you're more running the business? What would you apply back to farmers on this call? Would you encourage them to, improve this or that? Well, that was my first question. And my second question then takes us to managing large teams of people. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, I suppose both of those questions are the answers intertwined into them. It's about looking after people. And I suppose, look, my early days, my patience would have been slim. I just send someone up the yard, get up, I do it myself. So you go from that. So that's where I started, and suddenly realised you do that once too often, you find yourself a very lonely person. And I suppose, look, yeah. I suppose, look, the piece that you learn is how to look after people, how to manage people. And I suppose the biggest lesson I've had in the last, maybe our operations manager is with us now for the last 3 years, and he's brilliant at managing people. I've learned so much off him about how to manage people, how to look after people. And there's no really such thing as a person that's not capable of doing a job. The problem is it's the wrong job they're doing, and it's finding the right person to do the right jobs is the key. everyone's very, very capable. You just need to find the right route for them. And I suppose that's the biggest lesson I've learned off of Joe here is he's very good at doing that. Well, it's about thinking about how people come to work, why they want to come to work, what incentivizes them to come to work. And probably putting yourself in their situation sometimes really does help. And working through what they're doing, how they're doing it, how we treat them, how we look after them. And I suppose that becomes the key, and that's a piece that the conversations, I think most of my conversations around the place is actually how we look after people, what we're doing for them, how we can keep them, how we incentivize them, what makes us a better employer than anyone else around us. And that's what we have to do. We're competing for people every week is to keep people in here. So we're working out, well, how can we do it? So we have special days here where we'll bring in ice cream. We might bring in an ice cream van. We might bring in pizzas. We might bring them down to the local there's a garden down the road that we'll go down next week and we'll have a Christmas party, and that will buy them all a meal and give them presents and so forth, and we'll do things over Christmas for them. So look, that's really what we need to do. It's putting yourself in their mind and actually how you keep them. And I suppose that the same principle probably applies to the farm today, in the sense of we've 4 employees on the farm, probably slightly overdone a little bit on it, but it means that it frees my time and I don't get pulled in as much, which is important. And I would see that like our dynamic has changed a little bit, in the sense of up till last year, I think I had before I would have one guy work on the farm maybe 2 or 3 years ago that actually worked quite well. We actually have our farm manager, and he is sort of an assistant farm manager who has also from Watford, and she brought a great dynamic into the place, in the sense of her calf skills, even her milking skills and so forth, and a change of mindset probably has come in, that she's made us better farmers. And there's another girl has joined us in the last couple of months as well. And the same thing could be said is that with both the men and the women currently working on the farm, we've actually created a great dynamic. And it's taken us a little bit of time actually to work out how best to use that and to grow it. But it actually, everyone now enjoys coming to work on the farm. They enjoy coming in. There's a bit of banter and so forth in the place. Look, and that can be difficult until you get a few numbers in place or whatever. But look, that has worked very well for us, in the sense of, and I think we've actually created that, and we purposely have created that, is to create a bit of dynamic in the workplace. That and sometimes it works against us, but in the main, it's keeping that, it's working on it all the time, I suppose, what I'm getting across.
While we're just discussing the farm, can I ask you just to briefly outline the farm system, your split calving, briefly outline the farm system, but particularly what do you need to do differently or more carefully because you're a food producer? So would you a brief outline of the farm and what you need to do specifically being a food producer?
Yeah, I suppose, look, our grazing platform is about 180 acres. Is roughly what we have on the grazing platform here, and we're grazing at peak. We graze 300 cows, and that very, very tight. We draw in a bit of zero graze. If we have to, we draw in a bit of zero grazing and do a small bit of buffer feeding. We calve down about 120 cows in the autumn and a balance of 180 over the spring. I suppose we are a high cost system. There's no point in saying anything different. We are, and it's driven by the amount of milk I need to produce for the factory. I'd have to pay, for me, if I was buying in milk, I'd be paying 4 to 5 cents above what I would produce it for, is what's costing us. But it goes along with our storyline and so forth. And it's very important from a story point of view that we're actually able to produce our own milk. We're in charge of our own cows. We're in charge of how we look after, how we tell people how we look after them. And look, we do have very strict policies around the guys working on the farm, what gets done, how it's done. We go, comfort for our cows is very important, and we need a farm set up that we can have anyone, any day of the week, any minute of the day, walk into the farm and be delighted to see what they see. And that's probably the difference is that, and we do have people coming in on a constant basis, they'll sort of say, bring us down to the farm, show us around, see what's going on. So it has to be incredibly well done, and look, that takes a bit of time. It also takes a little bit of money as well, just to make sure everything is looking well. Everything's very clean, it's tidy, everything's very well looked after. and that's the way probably we do it. But look, from a farming point of view, look, it is a high cost system. We'd love to have actually, more land beside us. It's not possible at the moment. We're probably in an area where land rental at the moment around here is 5 to I think it's a really good starter off around 500. You get to 650 if you really badly wanted it. But like, we're not in that place, and very difficult to get ground beside us. So look, we're in a very tight area.
And milk quality standards are very stringent,
Yeah.
across the country. Are they, what is there a difference of viewpoint when you're right there and the factory is right alongside? Are there messages, what do you focus on there for milk quality, and are there messages for people on
they're the
board?
very same principles. The very same principles as supplying any co-op. And in fairness to all our co-ops, with a very high standard.
Yep.
And if we can achieve that type of milk on a daily basis, it's super. The piece we look for is that we get it as fresh as possible. So that once the milk is more or less in the bulk tank, it's swept out and into the factory and gone and produced. That would be, that's the piece. But look, the standard of Irish milk is phenomenally high.
Lovely. Amy asked a question here, and her question, I'll preface it with saying, you mentioned that patience wasn't high when you were farming.
Yeah.
And that's something you've learned. Amy asked, what strengths or skills did you have from farming that were most useful in building your yogurt business?
For sure, every farmer is ambitious.
Yeah.
And you have to
to
be a farmer. To be a farmer, you have to be ambitious. And I suppose, look, we are ambitious, and we've always been an ambitious family in the sense of, if we set our mind to doing something, you get out there and you really have to do it. And like, there is a great skill set in farming, because you can't leave a job. You can't leave a job on a farm undone. The same piece applies in the factory. If we leave a job undone, it means that there's an effect on quality or whatever. So the same, how we set out our day farming is very similar how I would currently set out my day in the factory here, or out even meeting people is I'm prepared. I need to be prepared, and I need to get the job done. And that's really what it's all about. As farmers, we're very good at the end of it. We know, no matter how long it takes or what time we end up coming in the evening, the job gets done. And I think from that point of view, some of the farming skill sets are very good on that. And I think as farm, we're more balanced in the sense of we understand how the world works, in the sense of what happens, as from, from cows being born, being bought milk through or whatever. We understand actually how the primary production happens. So for the secondary production of and bringing it on and processing, that comes an awful lot easier for us, because we understand the first piece.
Yeah. No, that's fabulous. We're talking on ambition. When I talked with you last weekend, just preparing for the call, you mentioned your mum, and would you kindly speak about your parents, who were both very ambitious, and you particularly referred to your mum's ambition, and also the little, if I may just say, mum and dad still live on the farm business, and they host many of your customers for breakfast in their 80s. So would you care to just speak on your parents there?
Look, we're incredibly lucky. Look, I've said we're from a large family, and look, I suppose everyone really aspires to be their mother, in the sense of, and particularly on mine was incredibly, so mum worked every day of the week. So she wasn't, if she was like having 9 kids, running a catering business and a contract catering business. I don't know where she got the time or the energy to do it. And yet she used to sit us down at Sundays and tell us how life works. And if we were stepping out of line, you were put back on a Sunday at dinner time. You were put back in line if you're not stepping out of line. In any facet of what we might have done over the weekends, or what we might have done during the week, or look, that's the type she was. She was dedicated to her family. She was dedicated to her work, but she'd give us a great work ethic. She was very passionate about food, and she gave us a great education in the rights and wrongs, and particularly of within doing business, also the rights and wrongs. And she's kept us always in good stead, and kept us always very much in a positive mode. Like, there's several times we've had buyers on the farm, and we bring them into the house, and mum puts on the tea and scones, and in some cases, if they're there for dinner, they'll have dinner. If they're there for breakfast, they could have breakfast. And mum will change the direction of the conversation with them, and she'll give them something different to talk about, and relax them. and let them open up a little bit, and we see, it gives us a chance, because suddenly they become very relaxed and they let their guard down. And it's much easier to do business with people when they're open to do business, and they're after me. And Mam's very good at actually breaking down the barriers between people. And I suppose maybe one example of that is that we had the first time we had our Aldi buyer down. It was down early in the morning, as they're always out early in the morning, and we brought him in for breakfast into the kitchen inside with Mum and Dad. And Mum gave him the breakfast anyway. And he got up after breakfast and he said, "Listen, lads, do you mind if I take a photograph? Because no one back in the office will believe that I had breakfast in the farmhouse this morning." Now that's only 8, 9, 10 years ago or whatever. So that just shows how the other side probably lives, and that they're not used to, the different things we can offer them from a farm point of view, that they wouldn't experience that if they went to a factory that was just on an industrial estate. They'd never experienced that. So we think we give an experience into it. And Mum and Dad actually helped to do that. Like, my dad's a very quiet man, and he'd have to be for my mum. But look, there's a piece of behind every good man there's a very strong woman, but I don't go along so much with that. I think actually the woman probably should be out in front of the man in this case, in the sense of she made such a difference. And look, give us the courage probably to go on. Like Mum was always sort of say, look, she would tell you she had several failures in her life, but she had many successes as well. And at the end of her day, she's happy that she had more successes than losses. So we were brought up with that, and it is important, that family dynamic, and you never get it as good as you get in the country.
Thank you. And you also, in regard to the farm, you also mentioned how the farm is your place for thinking. So one of the great skills or strengths of the farm, you play on the farm in the weekends, and that helps revitalize you and give you thinking time. Could you comment on that further?
Yeah, well, like this, like I find the farm is a very silent place over the weekend. Great place to think, great place to work out. It's the atmosphere that's in the farm, and look, I know in some cases there is pressures and a lot of pressures in it, but I think when you boil it all down and you go down, you walk down walk down to the cubicle houses during the winter and walk down the fields where we see what grass is growing or whatever. And so I know, and it's hard to get time to do it sometimes, but there is that great piece of you get that piece down there. It's like being away, and you come back up and you sort of say, right, you write your list of what you're going to do next week, and you're very clear about your list. And that's what we do. Is I'll often go off, or I'm feeding the cows over the weekend or whatever, and during that I might have a pad on the loader or whatever, and I'll be writing down my list of things, because it just comes flooding in the sense of what opportunities are there, what we want to do, who I need to see, and so forth. And it's great. Like, the farm provides that. It's for me anyway. I always find it's a very relaxing place to be, and if you're out early in the morning, there's not a sound in the world, and there's just a peacefulness about it, or a silence about it that I actually really like.
Yes, yeah, invigorating. And it's probably something, people who are farming don't always appreciate, that they perhaps get a little bit more thinking time, and, the great value of that. Can I ask you to lead into what might be your strategy for the future of the business, and how can we link that in with potential succession within your own family?
Yeah, look, we're more ambitious probably today than we've ever been, in the sense of, ambition breeds ambition, in the sense of I suppose, look, I've Charlie and the 2 girls, and that's probably driving my ambition, in the sense of they're starting now to probably ask the questions about, where the direction of the business is going, where the direction of the farm is going, and what we're trying to do at the moment is actually get them involved, in the sense of, well, why should I tell you where the farm? You tell me where the farm should go, and tell me what you would like to see where the business is going. And they're the questions we're starting to ask them, because what we're finding now, and even within the team of people we have working here, in the management team we have coming in here, they're the questions you need to ask. You let come away from the family, even people working for you, because they have the key to unlock everything for you, in the sense of there's X amount of thinking you can do yourself, and there's an X amount of expertise you can have yourself. But what you need to do, the more people actually that feed into you, and I particularly find, like, we'd find with the kids that they ask us, how much money we make, how much we're paying, different members of staff that do different, let it be the financial controller, let it be the general manager, or whatever, and they're at their age now anyway, they know to keep their counsel to themselves about it. But we do tell them the truth about it. We do tell them the truth about, you know, the amount of debt that we've been in and probably currently still in it, but in a much different ratio than what it was to our assets previously. But yeah, look, it's about we're sharing with our family, we're sharing with our management team, you know, what I think the plan should be going forward, and I'm pulling out of them. So what comes out of it, it's making us more ambitious. We see our Kerrygold piece that continues to grow. We grow under 500 ton next year is what's predicted in to grow. We see phenomenal opportunity both in yogurt and both in the discounters, and we've just launched a new line with Tesco. We're launching new products with Aldi in the new year for the first time ever. We've never done business with Lidl for some reason, or we always fell at the last hurdle over price or someone else like Bills or something on a contract. But as of April, we're going to have a dessert type yogurt in Lidl for the first time. We're talking to some people in the UK about how we're going to be able to do business. The funny thing about it, last week I had two guys came down with me last week, and these guys have been involved in a number of different branded companies, let it be bars, drinks, and so forth. Between one's a sort of very commercial guy, the other guy is a design guy and a marketeer, and they've done incredibly well for themselves. They knew more than I did about what's coming next in the dairy industry. They were connected better into the likes of Glanbia, Kerry Foods, and so forth than I ever was in my life. And it was a wake-up call to sort of say, listen, we're plodding along here, and we think actually we know everything, and we suddenly discovered that there's a whole pile of stuff that we actually don't know, and we actually haven't been thinking about how we actually get what's the next latest thing once we developed in milk proteins, and that can lead into yogurt. What's the next thing that's going to happen on cream cheese, and where the technology is going, and so forth. And we're sort of starting to forget about that. And I had two guys last week that came into it that knew little or nothing about the dairy industry, but were able to tell me what cutting edge ingredients are coming down the line. So that's a bit of a wake up call, you know, on where we need to go. And that's probably changing our direction a little bit but like there is phenomenal opportunity within dairy in Ireland. Just very few. If you look at the moment, I don't think anyone on the call here could name a new entrant business in let it be into cheese, yogurt, or any dairy food at the moment. It's just not coming through, unfortunately, and it needs to come through because there's huge opportunity and there's huge appetite within the population in Ireland for that type of product, and across in time across Europe. But yeah, look, I would say, Linnea, we're incredibly ambitious about where we can go, and look, as regards succession, is that we've shared with the kids. We've told them, listen, sure, step up to the mark and make your own path in the business and your own direction, and see where, you know, we were prepared to let them do that and take it on. But it's up to themselves to prove themselves. And at the end of the day, they want to stay within the business, that's fine. If they don't want to stay within the business, that's also fine, in the sense of we've built it. If they want to be involved, and I think they will be involved, but look, at the end of the day, it has to be the decision. I suppose the big thing is that we're being incredibly honest with them and giving them the opportunity to as we did, cut our own piece. So we're hoping that they'll develop products and do different things with the business as time goes on.
Yeah, fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and interesting that you actually look to others for ideas, because sometimes as you said, we get so silo focused that we're not looking at other opportunities, etc. If I could get you to continue on with the dairy industry sort of thought in mind, just would you comment on your thoughts of how well the benefits of dairy products are promoted, and are they fairly represented with non-dairy products, and how we could make better use of our grass-based milk image, both in Ireland, and I'm getting some free advice for New Zealand here as well on the call. We're not really utilising both those factors well enough. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Ireland has a phenomenal reputation for food. We would think that I've travelled a reasonable amount, in the sense of, look, we've been through the Far East, I've been to Australia, I've been to New Zealand, I've been to the States, and so we would have, and that would have been a lens through food, particularly through Europe. I've probably walked every cobblestone in most cities in Germany, in the sense of, because we've done an awful lot of research for cream cheese, and we'd have looked to see what the opportunities and so far for food, and particularly, you know, the whole dairy piece is, we do a phenomenal job in Kerrygold. And in my view, Kerrygold needs to be protected, because we've spent, Tony O'Reilly came up with the concept of Kerrygold, and the only reason, just a funny story on it, the only reason he had a problem getting the Kerrygold name, because Kerry was associated with it, and he had a problem getting it through on the board, right? So he told us at the 50th anniversary of Kerrygold, he told a story of where he got these models in green and white and short miniskirt, went around with the sign Kerrygold around the office, which was mainly dominated by much older men at the time, and he had no problem getting the Kerrygold name through. And that's how Kerrygold, he tells, happened. It needs to be protected. I know currently we have other glass-based products for sale, both in Germany and the US, and that's not something I think is as wise. And we're phenomenally lucky that Kerrygold is owned by the major co-ops in the country, and I think they should be probably playing a bigger part in keeping that Kerrygold brand at the strongest piece possible, and not trying to dilute it. But look, that's just my view on it. I think it's important that we recognise Kerrygold for what it is, and support it, and be very clear. I think within the Irish dairy industry, I think we need to be very clear about what we want, and what we promote, and I think it comes down, even if we look at the whole nitrates piece and the whole green agenda or whatever, there was a time in Ireland where we would have been out ahead of this, and we always were ahead of it. And unfortunately, I think at this stage, we don't have the leadership to be ahead of it at the moment. We're lacking that leadership to get out and get in front here, because that's the opportunity, this whole sustainability piece, is to get out first. And I know it's very difficult in the sense of what we're all being dealt with at the moment. But why are we not ahead of it? I think that's the question you need to ask. We're probably looking around to see who is and who isn't, but there isn't anyone ahead of us, and we don't really know, you know, what the impact or whatever is going to be. But we should know, and we should be ahead of it. So I think that's probably the bit. If you're looking to say what's the biggest opportunity for the Irish dairy industry is, we need to get our act together, and we need to get out ahead of it. And I think that's the most important thing, and we need a leadership to do that. And the leadership needs to come from, I'm not too sure where that leadership is going to come from. We've had great leaders of our farm organisations before, and we just need it again. We need someone to put their hand up here and lead this piece and sort of say, well, we need to get out and bring everyone along with it. You know, I think we need to forget the small items, and think about the big picture piece, and form a consensus of what we're going to do and how we should do it, and actually get out there and sell it. Yeah.
So farmers front-footing some of the environmental challenges, etc., are coming at us. Yeah, very fair point. Can I bring you back a little? Grace has expanded on that question about milk alternatives, you know, oat milk, almond milk, etc. How do you see your position or compete against that sort of ever-growing trend? And I think that's, you know, partially answered by your focus and the importance of Kerrygold. Have you got anything further just to say with, you know, the trend of alternative type product?
Oh, I embrace it. I embrace it.
Say again, sorry.
I embrace it.
Embrace it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we have to give people choice. And I would have been on sitting on the other fence. But a quick story. I was asked by a company to make a yogurt from oat milk. And I sort of said, yeah, absolutely, I'll go and I'll make that. And I have a very, very good product developer guy that does a lot of work for me, and we've worked with him for the last 20 odd years, whatever. And we set about, and we made a oat yogurt, and we thought it was, I know it was edible. I use in all this plant, I would mention the word edible, because that's what you have to make it. And we went along, and then I was asked, well, it's a bit brown. Could you lighten it a bit? I said, the only way we can do that is bleach it. Oh, I don't mind if you bleach it. And then he said to me, it's a bit thin. And I said, there's nothing I can do. I said, that's the nature of it. It'll be a bit thin. Can you not thicken it? I said, I'd have to put in a gum. Oh, well, I've no problem putting in a gum. Before we were finished developing that product, we had 10 or 15 items that I wouldn't even dare put into a yogurt. So what I'm sort of saying on this is, I think we just need to embrace it and see where this is going. If you look at, say, I'll give you Oatly, which is a product, it's a company I think in the UK or in Europe that formed that. It's very good. They're doing oat yogurt or whatever, and they hit the market with a huge big bang. And they'll be out of business in 6 months. In the sense that they came in, it's a product that, like, it's a hard eat, it's a difficult eat, and you know, people eventually go back and they'll look for, if you want to have oats, there's porridge, there's other oat items, there's granolas you can put into it and so forth. Why try turn it into something that it's not? It's not a yogurt. Never was going to be yogurt. It doesn't have the, you know, it's not a, yogurt is sour milk. In effect, you change the pH of it, and
yeah,
you make a product. So I would sort of say we need to embrace these because in some, it gives people alternatives, and it's like the flexitarian type piece is where people can be vegetarians 1 or 2 days a week and meat eaters the other days of the week, and I think that's what we need to look at. In some cases, people might sort of say, you know what, I do need a dairy alternative for a particular reason or whatever, or you know what, I want a day a week off dairy or whatever, and we give them an option, but we don't lose them. The worst thing you can do is actually lose a customer.
Yeah.
We're better off to have a customer that picks out, you know, can move between one and the other, and look, we keep the volume of product moving, and that's what it is. It's giving people alternatives, but at the end of the day, they'll still come back to the best product. And no matter what way it goes, you know, you'll drink milk, you'll have yogurt, you'll have cheese or whatever. But there's no other plant-based yogurt that will ever make a great cheese, nor will it make a great yogurt. So people will go back and look for the taste. So look, we're in a very good place as regards where we sit in the hierarchy, say, of the food chain, where milk contains so many vital products as in calcium and vitamin D, and its protein and its fat, and that combination is phenomenally healthy and has been proven to. Like, we've gone through all the pieces of butter, fat, and suddenly butter is now good for you again, and dairy proteins are incredibly good for you in the sense of it helps you in muscle development in later years. It helps us with calcium and protein again, you know, in older age. It keeps our muscle density and bone density together. So look, I think these things need to be embraced and run with them, and you know, rather than trying to fight them, take them and look, it bottoms out, and we've seen this one bottom out, and look, there'll always be a certain amount of people, and there's certain uses like you know, in coffee bars or whatever, oat milk has taken a bit of a it's getting a good run, but look, we'll have a new skim milk. Someone will bring out a new skim milk later. It'll actually have a better frothing piece than oat milk will have. But look,
lovely. No, that's you know, such a positive and a surprising answer. So I'm delighted, you know, to hear that, to embrace the opportunity to give people choice. It's fantastic. I've got a couple of sort of questions that are quite specific, but if you just comment briefly, one of the participants is interested to hear your thoughts. Now, I may not say this word correctly, on kefir. I don't know how you say that. K-E-F-I-R.
Yeah. Okay. So kefir is, I'll just take people back a few years, like back, Mom used to have kefir on, and she used to use it for bread making and yeast and so forth. So kefir has about 10, 11 cultures in it, and they're all fighting with one another. And the difficulty with it is all those bacteria are all fighting with one another, and none of them are at a high enough strength actually to have an impact. So you're much better off if you're looking today for gut enhancing yogurt and live yogurt or probiotic yogurt. You're better off to pick out just a natural live yogurt. It has the right, as long as it has bifidum in it, that's the one that actually helps digestion, and that's all you need is that one. The more you put in, and they're not at the right levels, it's not a part. But kefir originally is a yeast product, and they brought it back and just used cultures in it to make it. So there's a bit of a sales fly in that one. But straight natural with 1 or 2 cultures, that's the key.
Lovely. And Michelle has asked, how available is support and guidance necessary? Sorry, how available is the support and guidance that's necessary to learn to be a successful food producer?
It's all over the place out there. There's no end to it either. Let it be through your local leader, local enterprise. Then we got involved with Enterprise Ireland as you go through. But like there's so many groups out there and so many places. It's actually just sitting back and talking to the people that run these organizations, these funds and so forth, of how best you can get out of it, and working through actually how you're able to show them that you're going to be able to spend the money they're giving you wisely, and that you have a good business idea. But there is we've never ever had the door shut on us. We've never, no one's ever walked away and sort of said, listen, we're not helping you.
No,
But we've always
no.
given a compelling case for them to work with us. But look, it's phenomenal. Like from Board B to Enterprise Ireland to the LEO. Look, it's just, we wouldn't be where we are today without them.
They're great to hear that. Thank you. A question from Leah about milk supply. Is your own milk supply limiting your future expansion opportunities?
Yeah. So it's not really in the sense of the guarantee that we give. Every Killowen product that we sell is off our own milk. Obviously, say for a cream cheese and for the Kerrygold cream cheese, we buy in milk and cream for that. A simple piece is we could make 10 ton of cheese in a day. That will take about in milk terms, because there's a lot of cream involved there, that will take somewhere close to 100,000 litres of milk to make that amount of cream that we need. So obviously the farm would never sustain that, and then some of our private label contracts wouldn't be off the farm milk. So we do buy in milk for sort of say out anything that's not really associated. If we have a shortfall in milk, what we'll do is we'll buy in milk for some of our private label, and particularly for the Kerrygold cream cheese, we buy that from Tirlon, and they come in and deliver in the cream and the milk that we need. Just simply, it's not possible for us to do that.
It's a great relationship, isn't it? Because I know they've taken your milk when you have surplus, etc. historically. So a unique partnership there.
Yeah, and I would say, Linnea, that's what we use. So every customer and every supplier is their partner. I don't look at them and the same. That's the same as our bank. My bank is my partner. Every customer I have are my partners. And so if we go sell a product in the day, I will start up. My opening piece is that this is a partnership. We need to work together, and we're here to help you. We're here to do whatever we need, and that's how we open up our conversations. And we get
I'm so busy writing down learnings and looking at questions. I'm just flying in here. I've got a rather interesting question here. Can you ask, what is your strategy around biosecurity and infections such as TB? What's the strategy in that? What impact would it have on life? And sorry to ask such a sobering question.
Well, it's sobering today because on Friday we had reactors in our herd. So it's a very sobering question, and look, it's we don't allow anyone, like we disinfect everyone coming in. We haven't bought in stock for a number of years. We haven't had anything in the herd since 2016, and we'd may always have sort of say doubtful or maybe the odd reactor through the years or whatever, but this is the first time we ate animals. So look, we've immediately we isolated the animals. They're moved off on. We have an out farm, and they're the only animals on that out farm today. Before we moved them to, obviously we didn't. So there's no milk contamination once we knew, as the rules are, once you have a reactor on herd, you're removed from the herd. We've a lot of biosecurity around the place in the sense of we don't let anyone in unless they get kitted out, and they're given shoe covers. And that to go around the farm, so we don't have any director cars and not allowed down the backyard, and we're very careful if machinery comes in from contractors and so forth, has to come in clean, has to come in disinfectant. And if they don't come in clean or disinfectant, we'll either wash them and disinfect them, or we'll send them home and they'll come back and wash and disinfect it. But yeah, look, it's a piece. We just get on with the situation we're faced with. But look, it's a difficult situation in the sense of you never want that to arrive into the place, in the sense of it's difficult when you have a bit of a breakdown or whatever. But look, it happens to us all, and just get on and deal with it. But yeah, look, biosecurity is incredibly important to us, and we do our best. But we're not too sure where it came from. We haven't discovered it yet, but we will in due course. But
Yeah, very
Just,
challenging, and best wishes, you know,
yeah,
with the
yeah,
outcome
no,
on that
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Can I bring you to the marketing side?
yeah,
You know, can you tell us a little bit about marketing? So you're partnering with the likes of Killowen, etc., and you have the Kerrygold label doing a lot of work. Do you do much presence in other countries such as America? Do you do anything individually like that, or you work in with other marketing channels?
anything that we can get a mention on, we're into it. You know, we've very good people on social media, that in the sense of, do we all, if there's something we see or whatever, we see our product in somewhere, we take a photograph of it, and we get to go one of the girls here that looks after our social media and that to put it up. We don't have a huge budget for marketing. It's very what we try to do is we try to win every award we can possibly win, which gives us free press in the sense of get our name in the paper or whatever, and we might get highlighted on one of the radio shows or whatever. We try to do. We done the business show a couple of weeks ago. We've done Ear to the Ground. And we go after that. We just don't let it come to us. We actually go after it and see can we get people to come in and talk about us. Anyone that wants to bring in a tour in here in the sense of come in, have a look around the factory or whatever, we bring them in, and hopefully they might, in some cases, they'll write something or put something up for us. We probably, I look at our budget and spend will be 20-30 grand a year is what we do. We do a good bit of sponsorship of local clubs and rugby clubs and our GA club, and a bit of Wexford GA that we've just signed into. But it's very, it's just trying to get our name out there all the time and getting other people to use it. We do the shows like Bloom, we do Aldi in the clown match, we've done the odd stand ourselves in the clown match as well. But anywhere we can get out and about, we do, but not, we actually don't have a marketing company. We do have a PR agent that looks after our press and stuff like that, but we don't spend that much on marketing really. It's we try to get out there by word of mouth and trying to get people to promote us on the, you know, and there is ways of getting out there and getting people involved, and it's been at a number of different functions or whatever, and trying to get our name out. That's what we try to do.
It's thankfully saying yes to speaking in front of DWI, which many of our, you know, listeners tonight's webinar will be you know, addicted like I am to your lovely products. I would just perhaps if I could just come to one last question, which we have covered quite a lot, but Ina's just come in and said, what advice would you have to the farming audience around being more business-like? So from the lessons you've, you know, learned by being more involved, you know, in business, what 2 or 3 things would you say to farming population that would help them pull up their socks in business management?
Well, my thoughts on farming in general and business, I think we're some of the best business people out there.
Yeah,
that's my first piece. We are, in the sense of, look what we do. We produce food at incredibly low margins, and so look, I think the first piece is the first bit of advice is actually, believe it or believe it not, we have it in ourselves to be actually quite very good at business, and we are very good at business. You know, farmers in general are very good at business. We're good wheelers and dealers, and I think maybe confidence. I think we need to start really coming out there and sort of saying, like, sometimes you feel within the farming community that you can be, not that you're second class citizens, but you see you're a bit of a step back from where the thing is at, and that's not true. We're incredibly good business people, and I think we need to get that confidence within ourselves that we are that. And I would have found, starting out, I would have found that you're inclined to step back a little bit and let other people almost move in front of you or whatever. But that shouldn't be the case, in the sense of, I think we lack that as farmers. We sometimes lack that confidence. But look, we have every business skill that you could need in our daily farming lives, and that's the point. I think it's and maybe on top of that, then maybe it's to cover it off. Look, I would have done owner manager courses, and it didn't take that much time, a couple of evenings over a couple of weeks or whatever. So I would have done owner manager courses. They're worth doing, in the sense of and that's open to the farming piece within their LEOs. I've done bits and pieces through Enterprise Ireland. I've gone on different courses or whatever and that. And anywhere I thought there was somewhere I could learn something, and I think life is a bit like, life's about education, and education is not knowing your maths, or it's not knowing it's what actually doing maths helps you to do and work out. It's you learn different things. And the thing that I probably didn't tweak on, like it's only in the last couple of years I've tweaked, is all the things that I've learned over. I can't remember much of actually what I learned, but actually how I actually do things is what it's taught me. So it's like you know, you learn. I remember going into UCC, and there's some professor came in and he spoke for about 20-25 minutes. And I think there was about 20 farmers in the room. And I was at it, like, these were all guys that were on board, different boards throughout the country. And he spoke for about 25 minutes about, and I got it, and I got it straight away, in the sense he was talking about life and how to expand your mind out, and how to think about how different things work out, and just to broaden your mind a bit. The vast majority in the room didn't get what he was saying. And the reason they didn't get it, they didn't listen. Because you've listened to the guy, he was very different in the sense of he's not what you'd normally send out to talk to a group of farmers at the time. That's 10, 12 years, it was longer, probably 15 years ago. But if you actually listened to him, he had a point. And his point was sort of saying, lads, think bigger, think wider. And that's the thing about it. I think that's what we need to do.
Look, Nicholas, what a wonderful, inspirational close to our call. I'll draw our evening to a close. You know, the inspiration, thank you for, you know, such a bright note that we are already very, very good at business. And, you know, that's something particularly dairy women to stand up with confidence is something that a message we can all strongly take. I've written so many points here from, if I can just flick back over a few, from you're saying ambition breeds ambition, and you're an ambitious family. It's just wonderful to hear. To ask for help, ask questions of those around you. That will grow your business. So often we're quick to say what our opinion is, but if we can ask and bring others in, have great people around you. You commented to me last week that you've spent your whole life looking for good people and identifying good people to have around you. And your attitude around partners, you know, your bank, your marketers, Killowen, your clients, your customers are all your partners. Just such a great tribute to the way you run your business. You cautioned us not to become over-reliant or take things for granted, because things do change, can and do change. And perhaps we need to turn our eye to better appreciation of the likes of Kerrygold, etc. You encouraged us to front foot some of the challenges that are coming and take more leadership and self-direction on that. So thank you so much, Nicholas, for your time, for your wisdom. It's just a delight in a perhaps a grey winter, or a little bit of a gloomy environment, to have such inspiration. And I've had several messages just saying, wow, thank you for such a great story coming in to me. Really appreciate you joining us this evening.
Yeah, look, thanks to Nair, and thanks to everyone that has taken time out to listen. I suppose, look, it's I suppose, look, when you tell your story, sometimes you look back and sort of say, yeah, it's a great story. But look, it's a story anyone can do. You know, in the sense of there isn't anything special about what we've actually done. We've just been incredible amount of luck has come along, and you need a good bit of luck. But every day there's an opportunity, and it's about taking it. And I suppose, look, I'll finish up there in sort of saying to you, look, our doors are always open to you. We would love to have you. Look, if you want to come down as a group sometime, we'd absolutely love to have you in. And look, I really wish you. I think you're a phenomenal organisation. And I really wish you the best of luck and more power to you. It's great to see you, and hopefully in due course you'll be the leading lights of the dairy industry in Ireland and dairy farming.
Thank you. We would welcome your two daughters, your sister, your wife, etc., into our organisation. But we'll even allow Charlie and yourself in. So we're not to be exclusively just women. So look, thank you. I'll draw tonight's call to a close just by mentioning two members. And thank you for your participation to the many on the call. Our next Zoom call, which is for members only, will be in the first week of January. And that's on Wednesday, the 3rd of January, again, a Zoom at 7:30 p.m. at night. It will be hosted by a DWI member, Michelle McGrath. She's the AHI veterinarian. And our topic will have a nutritionalist talking about dry cow minerals from Informed Nutrition. And we'll also hear from Charles Chavas on calf housing and its relationship with successful healthy calves. So we've got a great program out coming up for 2024, and we'll be delighted to have everyone along. So I'll say good night on behalf of DWI, Merry Christmas to all, and a special thanks. I love our wee round of applause. Thank you, Nicholas, for your presentation, and if you wouldn't mind sending me on a number for Addiction Anonymous for addiction to Killowen yogurt, because there's nothing like that raspberry yogurt. Thank you all. Thank you all, and good night. Thank you.
Thank you.